Very intense story.
Very intense.
Because what you've talked about and the way you share it makes it for me easy to listen to. I think you're an artist with how you share stories. I think that keeps people engaged versus the boring standard. You've got to do this to get yourself better, and you are sharing very vulnerable stuff, but in a way that hopefully a lot of people can relate to. What's the X factor? What happens? It's your mom. You're thinking about her. You're now praying. You've done a lot of those things. Something does it. Something happens. Somebody, somewhere, something happens that allows you to get to where you are today.
I'll fast track to that.
You don't have to if there's more in between that's important.
Okay. So there was a moment also in there. I went insane in that shelter. I shaved my head into a tri-hawk, which I'm not saying it's a bad look, but I had 3 little strips, and I had never done that before, and I was just trying to do something crazy. I was hitting my head against the tiles in the shower and stuff like that, and I was losing my mind, man. You know, and it was dark, and I told you about this, and we can do it now or later, but there was a guy.
Yep.
It's a good time to do it.
Perfect time.
There was a guy. I don't know this guy. Never met him before. Never met him since. And I was in a time where when I tell you I was ready to give up, I mean, I was considering ending it. Okay? I didn't have the strength to go on. I didn't see the purpose in going on. I didn't think I could ever dig myself up out of the ditch that I had dug myself into. And I thought I was just defective. And that was just my curse. And I'm in the shower and there and this older man comes into the stall next to me. And he starts singing a song. He starts singing a song that I'd never heard before. And I didn't know what it was. And the only reason I know what it is now is because I remembered the lyrics and I would sing it all the time. And then one day I just kind of typed those lyrics in and found it on YouTube or something. But he very well, I mean, you say what you want, but I believe that might have been, the manifestation of a gift for me in the form of an angel. There's a part in there where it says, I just can't give up now. Nobody told me that the world would be easy, but I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. And he might have saved my life with that. He might have saved my life with that. And he sang it. Dude, I wish I had it recorded. It was soulful. It was beautiful. I felt it. I didn't just hear it. I felt it. And it gave me a little glimmer of hope. I went on, like I said, 2.5 more years down this road, but it gave me a glimmer of hope. So that was worth mentioning. So I get out of there and I moved to Tampa, which is where my ex-girlfriend had lived. And I decided to make a beginning. I got a job at a golf course. A very nice golf course over there in Tampa. And during this period of my life, I joined the firefighter academy, and I was going to, all right, look, I'd taken a couple semesters at Daytona State and some things, but I didn't go out of high school into college and, just do that whole path. So I'm like, I gotta start doing some stuff here. So let me try to do this. And I get a job at a golf course, and again, I get this idea. Something just isn't right. I'm hanging on to sobriety, but it feels like I'm hanging onto a rope that's slipping out of my hands. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, what's wrong? What? Well, I made a decision to go with some friends after work to shoot a couple games of pool and split a pitcher and have a sandwich. That was it. It was like a Tuesday afternoon. We'd get off early because we went in so early. It wasn't going to get crazy. Well, they left, and I stayed until I got kicked out of the bar. And I was off to the races again. And it was quickly very out of control. And so I go and tell, I burn everything down there because I'm fast tracking here because it's just not important. You know,
Understand, yeah.
But there comes a point where again I sold everything that I owned, everything that I owned. My dad came to see me for lunch. That's all he thought he was doing. And when we're done eating lunch, or I don't even know if I ate anything, but you know, I let him come pick me up, and I never wanted him to come inside my place because it was just not something to be viewed by normal humans. You know, it was just a disaster. And I said, Dad, can I come home with you? He said, what do you mean? Like, come over for a couple days? I said, no, people are looking for me and everything's gone, and I'd like to just leave right now and come back with you. And he said, well, okay, let's go up and get your stuff. I said, I don't have any stuff. He couldn't compute that. He said, no, come on. We got to do a walkthrough. You know what I'm saying? We're not just going to drive away. Like, let's go up, get your shoes, get your toothbrush, get couple of your little things, whatever you got up there. I said, I have sold everything I own to pawn shops and clothing stores. I don't have anything except what I'm wearing right now. He couldn't compute that. So we went up there and he saw there was a can of tomato sauce and a can of green beans in my pantry, and that was all the food in the place. He saw that I didn't have any clothes or any belongings, that I had sold all the furniture in the living room that wasn't even mine. It was a furnished apartment. And that I truly didn't have any stuff. And I think it affected him because he went, this isn't normal, man. They already knew there was nothing, but he's like, I think he realized something was going on a different level when he saw that. Like, I think it really concerned him a lot, you know, like this is, I didn't know it was like this, you know what I mean? So I went home with him and got a job at a gym and started doing good for a very short period of time, and then I did it again. Okay, and so here's where everything changed. My uncle.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Of course.
Because I think this is important.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis, what are your thoughts? Where's your brain? Is it, yo, I'm here at the gym, I'm going to work here, and then I'm getting off at 6 o'clock, and now I'm thinking about doing something or drinking or eating or smoking or whatever it is? Does it consume you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Whether I'm aware of it or not, whether I'm thinking about it like that or not, it was at the forefront. It ran my life. I didn't even run it anymore. I had become a slave to this. My addiction decided who I avoided, who I hung out with, where I went, how much money I spent, what lies I told, my entire schedule. I felt hopeless to even face the day without it. So if I didn't have it, it became paramount to everything else, was getting more. And they ended up having to let me go at that gym because I went out into the shed and did 5 different substances in the middle of the day and came back in. And the guy called me into his office and he goes, Zach, listen, man, we love you, buddy. You're a great guy, but you are high out of your mind. And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, yes, you are. He said, I was in a fraternity in college and I used to do some crazy parties, and I have never in my life at my craziest party been more intoxicated than you are right now at 3 p.m. at work. I don't even know what you're on, but you are whacked out of your mind, brother. And I said, okay, you caught me, you know? and he's like, listen, we care about you. We're going to save your spot. You get some help. You need help. Not just like today, but like we've been noticing that you're way off. You need help. Please get help. If you ever want to come back here and you ever want to work here again or whatever, we'll hire you back on. Just do what you got to do. I waited 2 weeks. I wanted another paycheck. So I called him and said I was ready to come in tomorrow. He's like, he was thinking it would be a lot longer than that. And if ever, you know, he's like, you want to come in tomorrow? I said, yep, I'm ready. He sounded a little concerned, but he said, okay. Okay, come on in tomorrow. Here's what time. So I get up. I'm so nervous. I'm going to go to work, and I figure, okay, I can't mess this up, but I can't do this sober. I'm going to just do a little bit. Just a tiny little bit, tiny little bit, just to take the edge off and calm my nerves. Well, that turned into a 2-hour binge. Now I'm like an hour and a half late. And I said, but I'm a good employee. I'm going in. I was like still in my warped mind, dedicated to showing up, even though I'm an hour and a half late and I'm high. And so I come in and I'm as bad as the day that he let me go the first time. And he said, dude, we can't do this. I'm sorry. Fired me. And I don't blame him. I got to go and make amends to that guy and give him a hug. And he's told me I could come into the gym for free for the rest of my life, and that he was so happy for me. And we cried, and it was crazy. You know, that's what we were dealing with. And so at the end of this thing, I became convinced, because let me tell you, it is a serious struggle to have to come up with hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single day. And alcoholism and drug addiction are the same thing. They're just substances that all get you intoxicated in different ways. Okay? When alcohol was illegal in this country, they sold it off of pallets out of the back of trucks with Tommy guns like kilos of cocaine. It was the birth of organized crime in America, and they were drug dealers. And they were selling alcohol. The major difference between alcohol and the other drugs is that it's legal and cheap. You don't buy it from some guy with a gun at a dope house. You buy it from the store. For $20, you can get a big cheap bottle of vodka. $20 won't even get you started on some of this other stuff. Other than that, it's the same. What it does to you internally, physically, mentally, the torturous hells that you endure, and what it can do to your life and your family. Because let's be real, meth is very different than heroin, is very different than Xanax, is very different than Oxycontin, is very different than cocaine, is very different than alcohol, is very different than acid. All these substances, uppers, downers, benzos, they all get you intoxicated in different ways. They're substances that get... Ozzy Osbourne used to shoot alcohol into his veins.
Wow. I did not know that.
And you can drink liquid hydrocodone, painkillers. So if you can basically drink synthetic heroin and you can shoot up alcohol.
Same thing.
Same thing. It's just everything hits you a little different, and people end up falling on one that takes them, you know? And so in order to fund an illegal drug habit, the alcohol user is very, very similar to somebody with insurance and prescriptions to substances that can also be sold illegally on the street. But if you can get them at the store and you have a good insurance and it's not breaking the bank and you can stay up with now you're using Oxycontin and Adderall and whatever, and it's the same thing at the illegal, but you're having more of the alcoholic experience because it's cheap and it's at the store instead of expensive and on the street. And so in order to fund an illegal drug habit, you're involved in illegal activity. Unless you got some kind of trust fund or just have millions of dollars in the bank or, I don't know what. Yeah. After any given period of time, you're selling or you're stealing or you're doing illegal things with your own self in order to fund your habit. And so I did a lot of the other two. I did a lot of stealing things, pawning things, selling everything I owned, and dealing drugs. And it was exhausting because every day, who's looking for me? Who do I owe money? Who owes me? Who's coming to get me? Who's coming to rob me? Who did I lie to? Every day you wake up, how do I get $300 minimum today? And what ended up happening is I had this fantasy in my mind, which I think a lot of people do. I said, I know what the problem is. The problem is that I can't fund this. If I ever got to a spot where I could just win the lottery or just somehow have an unlimited supply of whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted it, I could make this work. The real problem is not just what the drugs do to me and what my addiction does to me and my life cycle and style and all that. It's I just need to be able to maintain this without all this exhausting stress. Well, I got the opportunity for a short period of time. My uncle passed away.